Welcome to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. Today, let's talk a little bit about sales. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. My name is Kale Houser. I appreciate you joining me today for another edition from my car. It is a beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, or at least by the Pacific Northwest standards. It's something that I'm still getting used to. It's funny, no matter how much time you've spent in your history, because I grew up in this area and I thought I was used to it. Once you get out of it and you realize that there are sunnier and warmer places during this time of the month and this time of the year in the winter in February and March, it takes a little bit something to get back used to again. But that has really nothing to do with our Leadership Secrets podcast and the things I want to talk to you about today. Hopefully this wasn't too much of a disconnect, but I want to talk slightly today about sales and the concept of sales and the mindset of sales, because we had an interesting conversation recently with somebody we were talking to about our program. Because as you may know, or hopefully you know, I've done a good job of explaining, as part of our VIP Leadership Mastermind, we include a day of talking about sales in some form or fashion, some aspect of sales, because sales is such an integral part of our society. It's an integral part of being an effective leader, having an effective business. Because realistically, if you are in business, you are doing sales of some form or fashion. If you are a leader, you are doing sales, maybe not an exact exchange for money, but you are doing sales in some form or fashion with your people. And you're trying to get an exchange of, whether it be ideas or thoughts, of an exchange of you paying them money to get time, to get effort out of them, to get efficiency out of them. So if you are of the opinion, or if you have this concept that sales is like, oh, it's not for me, I'm not a salesman, I'm not in sales. Well, the reality is you are. If no one has told you this recently, or if you haven't connected those dots in that manner, please understand this aspect that we're going to talk about today isn't from so much the sense of you've got a product and you're taking to market and you are pitching it or you're selling it to your marketplace. This is conceptual in nature, as we're talking about the overall idea of sales. Now, I will say it is a little bit, I don't know if in the weeds is the right word, but it is a little bit nuanced, because we were talking with one of a potential client that we were essentially pitching to, right? We're in sales and we're hoping to have him join our mastermind. And he said, hey, I already received sales training. I'm like, oh, that's great. Because a lot of people, they're basically left to figure it out on their own. And if you didn't understand this, then, sales is a process. There are steps to it and things that you need to do in order to be successful at it, no matter what it is. And we're, just kind of going through that process of, okay, well, tell us about this. Tell us about, what it is you're learning in sales, how it's helping you. Is it helping you? Is it an effective system? And he talked about, and I'm not going to name the program or anything, but as you are well aware, we are Grant Cardone business coaches and licensees, which means we have access and we wholeheartedly believe in and teach Grant Cardone's sales method and his methodology and his techniques. And part of that methodology that was such a groundbreaking change in the sales industry was open and transparent transactions, open and transparent intentions. And if you're ever on a call with us, that's one of the first things we'll tell you is like, hey, our intention with this call is blah, 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 to join our mastermind. Our intention with this call is to hire us as your coach, whatever that is. We're very upfront and clear with that. So there's no ambiguity, there's no guesswork. And the same thing with our price. We are very upfront and honest with our price, and it's usually mentioned within probably the first minute or two of talking with us after our, the pleasantries as it be. But this gentleman was talking about his sales training that he goes through, and he's like, no, like everything's supposed to, we focus on emotional buying. We focus on the mystery of it. And we get to a customer of such an emotional sense of they need their product that, you essentially you're taking the logic out of it. And I want to hopefully convince you, or at least remind you, depending on where you're at in this stance, of there are very few things in life that we buy that are pure emotional buys. Now, I would argue, if you're out buying a Lamborghini or a new yacht or a plane, well, not so much a plane, but some sort of luxury item, that is a pure emotional buy, because nobody needs a Lamborghini, nobody needs a Maserati, nobody needs a 52-foot yacht to sit in the harbor. They do it because of the emotion of it. They buy those things because every time they go out to their driveway and they see that Lamborghini, or pick your luxury sports car, they see that Rolls Royce, it gives them an emotional response. Whether and it in their mind, it gives them that status, it gives them that pride of ownership, that pride of achieving something, being able to afford an item like that. Same with a yacht sitting at the harbor. They can look out at it and say, "That's mine. I did that." Blah 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 blah. Look at it. It's an emotional response. Now, most of us are in a market that is not that. If you're selling new air conditioners, people don't, when they pull up to their house and they see that unit on the side of their house, go, "Oh, I did that." That emotion is risen back up. Like, there is a point you have to understand your audience, you understand your industry and your marketplace, to where, yes, an emotion may have driven them to start talking to you out of need. Taking back to the air conditioning example, like, "I'm hot, our air conditioning broke, I hate this." That's a strong emotion, but they're not going to buy, particularly like an upsell, or buy a whole package based on that long term. And I would argue, some of the intangible things, certainly things like, insurance, life insurance is a big one, investment accounts, schooling, savings plans, all those types of things that are a little more intangible, and they don't continue to provide that repetitive emotional response. You cannot sell strictly on emotion. You have to, at a point, move to logic. They may base on emotion of, they like your product, they like you, they like your company, right? That's an emotional response. But once you get to the actual closing of it and the consummation of the deal in the form of an exchange of money and an exchange of services, it must be logical. It has to make sense in their brain of why I'm paying X amount of dollars per month, or a one lump sum, for this product that I don't necessarily see every day, and I don't see the benefits of it every day, specifically and especially in, like the insurance type of a business. Now, I will argue, and I would strongly advise you and for you to consider, if you are the type of salesman, especially in that kind of industry that doesn't have the tangible things, you're not selling Lamborghinis or yachts or things of that nature, how many chargebacks do you get? How many returns do you get? Because that is the other thing of, hey, I made this emotional buy, and that's where the buyer's remorse comes in. That's a classic thing. I used to, a long time ago, and a whole lifetime ago, I used to work in the boat industry, and I did my little stint with boat sales, and that was a large part of our sales training, was how do we avoid buyer's remorse, where they want to return the boat, because usually there was a period of time between, especially if you're at a boat show or something, where they sign the contract, they see the boat at the boat show and it's beautiful, blah blah, I signed the contract, so for your $50,000 boat that they're going to buy, and sometimes it can be several weeks before they actually take delivery of the boat, because a lot of boat shows, surprise, surprise, are in the winter where you can't really use them. And you found a lot of times before the customer took delivery is this buyer's remorse, and they canceled the order, or maybe they lost their $500 deposit, depending on your company and all those types of things. But a lot of the training was, how do we get them out of that buyer's remorse to where you lose the sale? Well, the reality is, you never had the sale. You had an emotional response of some dude who, his lifelong dream was to own this ski boat, sitting at this boat show in the boat, and he's envisioning and imagining, being with his bros or his family, water skiing, blah, 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 all the things that go into buying this boat and the lifestyle it imagines. But you never closed of, why do you want this boat? What does it mean to you? How are you going to use it? Like, make it real for them beyond the pure emotional response that they were having at the time, which caused them to stroke the pen and charge the card. And that's what I'm talking about here. You must. And Dave Robards, who's one of the top salesmen for Grant Cardone Enterprises, he talks all the time of, yes, we go through the demo with emotion. We go through the presentation with emotion. We ask questions and fact finding with emotion, because that's what gets somebody interested to start with. But the second we move into the close, he says that is pure logic. No matter how much emotion was in the front end, the close is 100% all the way logic. We take emotion out of it. Why do you need this? Why do you want this? What's it going to do for you? How can you afford this? Why do you want to pay this much for this? All those types of questions that are not emotional based, they're logic based. And what that does is, a week later, a month later, 6 months later, he doesn't get people that go, "Oh, I made a mistake. I made an emotional decision, this buyer's remorse to the point where they want to return it, or at best case, they don't want to renew your service once the contract expires. And if this is you, if this is that sense of you are seeing that in your business, maybe your salesmen are seeing this in your business and you're like, I don't know how to fix this. Let us know, reach out. Please, 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 so we can help you. And we'd love to do that. And certainly the VIP Leadership Mastermind is the first step to doing that. If you have not yet, please check it out, VIPLeadershipMastermind.com. My name is Kale Houser. I look forward to talking to you. If you enjoyed this type of topic, please let me know. Shoot me a DM, leave me a comment, and we can talk a little bit more about sales and that aspect along with the leadership down the road. No matter where you're at in the world, have a fantastic afternoon. Bye.